Hey guys, this is part 2, and let's see if we can put down maybe another layer and work on putting in details in some of this area. So right there, and also this area. Let's see how much we can get done in about an hour. All right, I'm gonna move to a smaller brush. This is a number 6 silver black velvet. And I guess just kind of work right here. So I want to find that color. I think it's some of this dark, what is this? The dark brown, Dyke Brown, right? But it's darker than this, so this is that Dyke Brown right here. So we'll just take some of this, mix it in here as we go. And what else? Here we go. Let's just test it out. All right, here we go. And I'll just kind of pick this area right there to work on. While putting on these details, it kind of reminds me of drawing a little bit. Very, very thin, very thin tip to create some of these little details. And as long as we get like the gist of these details, we don't have to get every detail exactly like the photo, but we can capture some of the details just enough to where it makes the eye go, this looks very realistic. In our reference photo, it's a little bit more, there's some more brown, like orangey brown, but we can add that brown after this layer dries, this layer of details. So while painting details like this, I enjoy the quiet and but I'm also supposed to be teaching, so telling you what I'm doing. So I'll try to remember to do that. But this is in the details where you can get really focused and just, it's relaxing. It can also be a little bit challenging, but relaxing at the same time when you fall into like a rhythm. Today was a very eventful day. A friend from church invited me to teach her class how to draw hands, and they're 5th graders. So I didn't know how that was going to go, but it went really well. It was very, very fun. Hopefully they'll invite me back again. That was cool. And then I went over to a friend's house, just got back, and he had me ride his AVT, or I don't know what it's called. I've never ridden one before. It reminds me of a golf cart, like on steroids. And it was terrifying. I think I aged 20 years just riding on it. He was drifting with it, and while I was on there, and then he had me. And this is in the dark too, so one headlight was out. It was a time of intense prayer, but it was fun. So you start to see those little details really pay off. Like, it's time consuming, but it pays off. It's really awesome. Now, in the past, all these little details and trying to get them, capture them, would have stressed me out. But the reason they don't now is I don't try to get every little tiny detail. I try to find the patterns. Like, for instance, if we broke this down, these are very little. They're not circles. What are they? Ovals. These are like little tiny ovals. But then as you move over here, they gradually get larger, 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 almost stretched here. So we're just doing a lot of observing. There's this line, almost a straight line, that comes out like that. And we see that in the sketch right there. In realism, one of the muscles you have to get good at is observing. And the good news is you can get better at observing. Everyone is born not being great at observing. All of us had to learn it. So that's good news. Maybe you're terrible at realism because you haven't learned to just sit and observe and observe and observe, but you can get good at it. And it can become a game to where you actually are getting better at painting and drawing while you're sitting in class or sitting on the bus or just waiting in line, even at the grocery store. You can be looking at things and imagining how you would paint it, what colors you would use, how you would draw it, like really just observe the things around you. And I really think it can help you become a better artist. You grow not just when you're painting, but also by using your mind to really observe things. If I told you to draw a penny right now without looking at a penny and use your imagination, you would not do as good as if I said, for the next 10 minutes, I want you to just stare at a penny and observe as many things as you can, because at the end of the 10 minutes, you're going to draw the penny and you can't look at it. So observe as much as you can, store away as much information about that penny, the color, the texture, the year on it, so you can draw the year on it. Abraham, his face, all the details of the beard, the look on his face, any scratch marks, like just observe, and then if you drew it during the next 10 minutes and compare it to your first 10-minute drawing, is going to be like night and day, because you use the observation skill. That's the power of observation. After my friend took me for a ride in his AVT or whatever it's called, he got out these baseball cards that he inherited from his like father-in-law when he passed away. And my friend doesn't know anything about like baseball cards, and I do. So he was like, hey, take a look at them. And it was so fun. He has so many cards in there that are worth a lot. It was exciting. We like had to stop looking them up, how much they were and stuff, because it was getting late. So I have to go back later and help him out. So it's been a good day. All right, so we got a lot of details going on here. It's dark in this area, but notice right here, all of a sudden things get lighter. So I don't really want to keep using this as dark as it is. It's also more pinkish almost. So I think what I want to do is just get water in my brush and get some of this rose color. Take off some of it. I'm gonna experiment here. That might be a good color. Let's find out. Yeah, this is it. I use a little bit of the gold color and the rose color and just a little bit of the brown, and I'm mixing it as I'm adding the details. And it will dry lighter. So right now it might seem pretty dark, but this will dry. I think it will be good. One of the beautiful things about watercolor is how flat the paper remains, because it dries so flat. It's not like other paint where you can put globs of paint on top of globs of paint to create texture. To create texture with watercolor, you actually have to be very, very careful how you shade and color things. So all the texture and the illusion of texture and depth is all formed by just the way we use the paint, the way we apply it to the paper. You know, some paintings are literally 3D, because the paint literally is like coming off the paper. Now, some people even use like a plaster, like an actual, almost like clay coming off of the canvas, and then they paint on top of that. Watercolor though, you gotta create all this with some careful coloring and layering. It's a good challenge. So I'm just getting a little bit of that, a little bit of that. That doesn't help you, huh? A little bit of the Dyke Brown, a little bit of the rose, a little bit of the gold. And it's in some... Okay, so that's too dark. Just quickly get my paper, my paper towel. Dry it off. There it is. It's gone. No worry about that. All right, it's more light, and it's more of the orangey color. So does that work? Kind of. Maybe it's more like this color. Yeah, it's more like that color, I think. Okay. I'm drying off my brush so I can have a brush that kind of soaks up some of the paint right there, and I can move it around a little bit. Okay, let's get a little bit more, just a little bit more than that. And since the background is going to be white, we want to have that kind of warm color, just the illusion of a very light color here. Like light is passing through this eye antenna. How would you like to have your eyes like 6 inches above your head, you know? And that would be, seems like it would be very easy to poke your eye out. All right, let's see. Let's use some of this color right over here. Yeah, I like how this color, how it changes, how it goes from dark to light, causing variety, visual interest. It's very beautiful. And we'll come back here later because this right here is actually more blue on the colder side of things. It's not more orange. Right here is orange, so it's like a warm color, but right here is more of a blue. And then on the other eye, it's actually more of an orange warm color because of how the light's hitting it on that side. So we just kind of pay attention to those little details, and it putting more warmth on this side. I'm taking some of that orange right there. It's very, very subtle, not they're not really dark, but just very, very light hints at texture over here. Then it gets really orange right here, right around there. Let's put in some of that orange color, maybe even more. That. And then there's a little dot for the eye. So we'll take that really dark brown, and we'll put the eye right in there. Very, very little, tiny dot for an eye. It gets a little bit dark there, but not as dark as the eye. So we'll put in some darker color, but just notice it's not as dark as the eye. Get some water to dilute it a little bit and spread it out. Oh, I think my son just woke up. I might have to go soon. Okay. All right, let's do this eye for now. We can come back here and fix that up however we want later. Like I think that could end up being more orange on the tip there. But since we have this color in our brush, we can add it right now. Doing a little bit of dry brushing, where I'm letting the paper take some of it. I'm showing the texture of the paper. My brush is sideways instead of up like this. It's going to be sideways as I dry brush it. There we go. So I just put in lots of little details. Very quickly, because since the paper is textured, there's bumps and ridges. The top parts of the bumps and ridges are grabbing the paint and causing that texture. And doing a lot of the work for me. Now this eye isn't as it's not as dark as I'm drawing them. I'm making them darker, and I might not like that later. And if I don't like it later, I'll just wet it and soak up some of the paper, some of the paint, and make it lighter. But right now, I'm just gonna experiment and leave that darker for now. You're free to make decisions like that. All right, let's see. get... Let's experiment. Let's get some of this gold color. And let's see, let's put some of the gold color right in here. Just enrich some of those colors there. And maybe enrich some of the colors in here. Doesn't look bad, actually. All right, so let's do that again. Let's put some more gold. Let's put some more gold in here. I'm trying to just put it in one swoop, because the more I go back and forth like this, I'm in danger of activating the colors around it, all the details we just put in, and blurring them. So I don't want to do that. I just want to quickly put in the colors and let it rest right next to the colors we put in. That's looking not too bad. Ooh, that was a little bit too intense. So I can take some of the paint off. I can activate it with some water. Take off some of that. There we go. So that tells me we need a lighter wash in this area right here. You don't want it too heavy with paint. That color is right around here too, so I'll just put it in while we have it. That color is also right in here. This gold color. Right in there, yeah. Okay. And then that gold color is right around here. So put in some of it there. There. And right there. So a lot of getting used to watercolor is just like kind of intuitively starting to realize how much water you need in your brush and how much paint you need in your brush, the ratio, and starting to get used to like once you do it long enough, and I've now done it consistently for over a year, you start to intuitively kind of know, like, this is about how much water I need to get in my brush. And then the good news is, when you make mistakes, and you totally will in every painting you do, watercolor is way more forgiving than I thought it was. You just have to know what to do after you make the mistake. And sometimes, even if you let it dry and you find out later that you made a mistake, you can use magic eraser. You can use magic eraser, and it will take off the paint and bring it back to basically the white of the paper. So you don't really need to be afraid of making mistakes. This area I'm noticing is much darker, so we'll just kind of let that dry, and then I can go back in and add another layer to darken that area. In the meantime, let's see, we can add some details over here. One thing I'm trying to pay attention to is something that's really important, is areas in your drawing where new things begin and other things end. And paying close attention to how different textures of the skin start and how they end, how they merge into a different type of texture, different types of bumps. People really like not only gradients with colors, but they also like if you pay attention to smooth transitions from different textures. It just makes things more believable, because in real life, textures kind of merge into each other very subtly a lot of times. Like, all of a sudden you're in a new texture, and how'd that happen? It's like because there was a lot of little details that changed between one texture and the other. So if you can capture that, people really appreciate it. Even if they can't understand why they appreciate it, they're like, oh, there's something about this piece and I don't know what it is. It's like the unconscious eye will pick up on those beautiful little details. All right, this eye, I want it to be warmer, so I'm just getting some of that gold color in there. I want this eye to be a little bit warmer, so I'm getting the gold, and I'm just going back in there, putting in that gold color right there. There you go. Okay. All right, and let's see. we'll take a break from that area. Actually, before we take a break, noticing right here there is a smoother transition from here to here. So I'm going to get some fairly clean water and just soften this area. I'm just going to rub the clean water in, and it will soften that area, activating it, and then I can come in and soak up the activated paint. Now it's not as crisp of a line there. All right, let's work on this area and make this, let's see if we can create that really, really dark color. Create that dark color is pretty much the darkest color, right? So we got that, and then that color right there is really dark. It's almost pure black right there. But we'll do this one right here. I think it's gonna take some purple. Let's see, let's get some purple. Get some of that dark brown. And maybe even some of the rose. Let's take some of that rose. There we go. All right. All right. So here we go. We don't know exactly how it will be, so we'll just carefully observe. And I think that color is going to work. I do. All right, and there's a lot of little details right here that we can't really put in right now because there's too much water. I can feel there's too much water in my brush right now to put in lots of detail quickly. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of letting some of the paint and water out in the crease areas, and then once there's enough water out of the brush, I'll be able to do some dry brushing. If I didn't want to wait, I could tap my brush on here and just start doing the dry brushing, but since I have the paint already in my brush, I might as well use it. All right, it's starting to get close to the dry brushing area. So watch, I'll put my brush from almost more, it's upright right now, so I can do these thinner lines, right? It's upright. I can do these little thin lines, but watch what happens when I do it sideways. Oh, there's still too much water in my brush. So it didn't create lots and lots of texture yet. Hold on. Let's get some more of this paint out of my brush. Okay, we're getting close, we're getting close. All right, we're very close now. Here we go. So, yep, there we go. Now I can do the dry brush technique. So watch this. See how it, look at all those details. That's the beauty of dry brushing. Look at all this detail. Wow. Watch right here. Wow. So much detail so quickly through the dry brush technique. Look at that. Look at that texture. So cool. All right, now we ran out of that color, so we need to get some more. It's a little bit of the purple, a little bit of the rose, and a little bit of the Dyke Brown. And at first, we're gonna have lots of that color in the brush, so we'll just get rid of some of it right now. And then we'll kind of take note of when it's a good time to do the dry brush. All right, I'm noticing on here, this edge is pretty dark, pretty prominent, this area. So I want to capture that. And since I have a lot of that paint in my brush right now, might as well get the edge of this very dark shell right here. Look at that, the dry brush technique right there. Okay, get some more. This is really dark right there, so I want to try to capture that darkness. Yes. So we got a lot of paint right here. Just a lot of it right there. There we go. So there's this line that comes up right around to here. So from here, basically to here, we want to put in some dry brushing like this. And I'm trying to change it up a little bit so it's not like perfectly the same distance from each other, because it's not. There is some variety between the lines. But we can put in lots of little details like this, just lots of little lines around these areas right here. Okay, lots of little details. Lots of little details here. All right, we got about 15 minutes left in this session. So hopefully I can get to doing the next session tomorrow. But you're getting the, like, hopefully you can see where it's headed. It will end up looking very, very realistic. Just take some time putting on the details. So my brush is going to be more sideways as I put in some of the detail right here. And it's going to be sideways a little bit right here. Sideways right here as I put in some of the detail. There's kind of this line movement like this going on top of the lines going like this. And some of these things, like, you don't really observe until you've been looking at it for a long time and you're like, oh, that's what's going on here. And with each layer you put on, you start to observe more of what is really happening. These aren't perfectly straight lines. In the reference there's some squiggly lines going on. There's lines that are from thin to thick going on, so they're not all the same width. Where I want it thicker, I'm pushing down. Where I want it lighter, I'm lightening up my hand. I'm going to do that from the side of the brush, creating some textures going this way. We need a little bit more in the brush. to create visual interest, I'm not just putting a big bold line like this on the side. I'm letting your eye have some variety of lights and darks. So there's some darks over here on the edge, but then there's some lights right here. Gets lighter. And that visual interest creates something that's pleasing to our eye. There's less paint in our brush, so it naturally gets lighter over here at the top, which is great because the light is hitting the top of the shell more. So we don't want a heavy hand with dark paint right here. We want it lighter in this area, so that works out good. You can paint the same painting 10 times, and with watercolor you're going to get different results every time. You're going to get, generally it will look familiar, but watercolor is there's so many variables and things that the brush and the paint, the water does, that you just cannot do an exact replica of your last painting in watercolors, not when you're doing detail like this. And why would you want to? Like, that would be a pain in the neck, you know, making yourself have to do it exactly the way you did it before. Hopefully after each painting you do, you kind of be like, oh, if I did it again, I would try this. I would try something a little bit different. I would try a different technique, or I would try a different color there, and experiment like that. I mean, any painting you're working on where you're willing to experiment on it is just going to make your next piece even better, because you're going to learn from whatever experiment you do. And your next piece is going to benefit from that. I want some more of that texture like that. Look at that. Beautiful. I really like the wet on wet technique, but I also really like dry brush technique. And I don't know why it's called dry brush, because your brush isn't dry. It just has more paint in it than water. So there we go. Okay, and since we got this color, you know what this color is, we can even put it in right here like that. Okay, and then from there, remember we said earlier, pay attention to where things end and where things begin with textures. So I'm noticing how one section goes and becomes part of the other. Like this section goes to here, comes over here, and then ends up going over here. And there is some lines coming out from this section. This section, we could use the dry brush technique a little bit here. Kind of pushing wavy lines here to create the texture right here. I'm just kind of pushing down, letting up, pushing down, letting up, pushing down, letting up. That's creating that really cool texture right there. Okay. I'm also paying attention to, I don't want to cover up these really, really light areas. At least I don't think I do. So I'm being careful not to cover up the really light areas there. Now this area right here, there's more orangey gold color. So I'm going to take some of this rose color. And I like this color right here, this. Let's see if we can, there might be too much on my brush. I just feel like there is, so let's see. Okay. With the dry brush, we can bring some of this color out. Yeah, there we go. And I want more gold color. So let's get some of this gold color right here. And we'll darken some of these areas. And I'm just putting some gold on the edge here, and hopefully it kind of blends in with that dark color right there. I'll get some of that dark brown and just bring it up a little bit, just like that. Some of these areas is really dark, so try to capture that dark. So I'm slowing down in these areas because you want to get the form right, and the way you get the form right is you got to get the lines, the contour lines right. And the contour lines go over the form in a certain way. So I'm paying attention to how, like, notice I'm not doing any line, any direction. I'm going with, I'm looking at my reference and I'm trying to mimic the direction of these lines on the shell. And there's some interesting textures here, just lots of little hints of shadows and divots in the shell. This shell has some areas that seem very like a pattern, like you got these lines going around like right here, but at the same time this line gets broken up by other lines. So there's like a lot of beautiful visual variety, visual interest. Now that was what I just did right there. That was a little too dark. That was a little too heavy-handed. So what I can do is go in with water over those dark lines, just like that, and soak it up, just like that. So no worries. It's gonna happen at some point while you're painting. So just know you can fix it very easily. All right, so we got this area, I want it to be more golden. So let me just put in some of that gold right here, like a wash. Okay, and let's just see what happens here. Ready? Okay, that's not, it's not showing up very much, is it? That is. That's showing up a lot more. That's good. There we go. And it gets really dark in here, so I'm gonna put this gold color right in there. Beautiful. There we go. And it gets pretty dark in here. And a little bit of that gold in there. Maybe right around there. Okay. Here we go. Okay. And then this gold color kind of comes up here a little bit. So we'll put it in. Notice I'm really wiggling the brush to get paint into the brush. And there's some more gold in here, but there's also some light parts that I want to keep. So I'm going to put the gold around some of the lighter parts so we can keep the highlights in some of those areas. There. Now in this area, it almost looks like there's some purple reflections or grayish purple. So I'm going to take some purple here and do that. There we go. We can probably stand to do another, what's it called? Not wet on wet, dry brush. We can do another dry brush right here. Come on. Come on. That's actually not bad. That's not bad. Okay. All right. All right, one more thing and then we'll call it a session. I'd like to do 2 hours, but I need to sleep because I gotta get up early tomorrow. All right, we're gonna put just a little bit more gold here. And let's put some more golds from here to there. And let's do some golds right here, from here to here. And even more like okay. All right, so it's coming along. It's going to I think it's going to end up looking really good and really realistic. We can almost do some dry brushing going in this direction with this. Okay. And since we got the gold in our brush, we'll just do some dry brushing right here. Put in lots of little details quickly. And I'm going in the direction of the lines I see in the reference. Okay. All right, it's coming along. If you're doing this on the school app, I'd love for you to post your progress pictures so I can see your progress and cheer you on and see what you're doing. It encourages me to see you guys progressing and doing well. All right, guys, I'll see you for part 3 pretty soon. All right, take care.